Have you ever struggled with getting clean notches on your patterns? Well, today we're going to show you the best tool you can use to notch your patterns. Hi, I'm Christina, and I love to digitally apparel pattern, creating unique pieces of wearable art. And today we're going to dive into a notch tool. This is one of those tools that is very handy to have. And depending on how you work with your patterns, you'll either use it all the time or you only use it some of the time. I normally fall into the category of only using it some of the time, but I also find it an incredibly useful tool to have because when you need it, you need it. So I only use this type of a tool some of the time because I love to trace out my patterns using the tracing paper or the carbon paper and actually get all my stitch lines. However, if you have a pattern that you cut out, very much like I have this little cute half-scale dress with a fisheye dart in the middle. And then you're going to either trace around it to do your stitching, or you'll have the notch, or you'll have your seam allowance around it and you'll cut it out that way. You'll want a way to mark these notches. Now, you can always just mark with a pencil straight onto your fabric, but sometimes it's really nice to have that little bit of indent to your notches, which is where this guy comes in handy. So you can just line up and notch, and then it creates a nice little notch right on top of your notch line. I'm going to give you a closer look right now.
So now let's look at this nice and close up. You see I got the nice little line. Works very much like a hole punch. You line it up and punch it out. You end up having a lot. If you're going to punch out a lot of them, you'll have a lot of little confetti pieces that you'll want, but it creates that really nice notch. Now, if you are trying to do an internal line, what I find is easiest is when you fold it, and then you can do one of two options. You can take a very tiny little smidge out, so you can create more of like a hole, or well, I'll show you the hole again. So you just fold it. You want to make sure you're folding as close to getting those lines matched up perfectly. That way you'll still be able to match everything okay. And then at the very tip of the dart, you'll also want to put one. I always like to put one horizontally, not vertically. And that's because I always like to give myself that guideline of this is where my dart ends instead of not knowing exactly where it's supposed to end. So I always like to do a horizontal one. And that one, as you can see, didn't quite go fully straight across. It has like a little bit of an angle to it. And that's just because I didn't have it quite straight when I was doing it. I didn't fully fold it perfectly. But it'll still give you that top and bottom of where exactly you want those darts to end. Now on the other side, I'm going to go ahead and give you a few longer notches so you can kind of see how that works. And again, I'm trying to line up my lines perfectly so that I don't get the same kind of off kilter. And I didn't quite get on the line there, but that's a pretty straight line and it's nice and long. So that can be very handy. Sometimes I know I've done a long one at the top, a long one at the bottom, two holes right at where the dart is at its widest, and then these long ones on the travel between the two, and then you can fill in the rest because you have the three major points that you need. So it's just one of those that you kind of have to play with it. You have to figure out what's going to work best for you and what's going to actually provide you the information you need best to translate onto your fabric. So it's always that mixture of trying to figure out what you need and how you can achieve it. If you say you have, I'm just going to put this plus on here, say that's a point you need marked out on your pattern for one reason or another. I always like to do, again, these big plus points so you can have the big plus. But if it was just a point you were trying to line up and it was more of a circle, I would more just open up, or I do half and then I just do a little tiny nip, but then I would make sure to circle it so that I would not accidentally forget not to mark it. And there we have it. That is how easy it is to use this punch. And you can see the small holes versus the large holes, and you can choose anything in between.
And there you have it. That is how clean this little tool can create those beautiful notches. And it is super handy, even if you have those internal darts that I showed you how to do, as well as any other points that you might want to easily just mark out. So if you're looking for this tool, I'll have a link down below that you can find it on Amazon. So if you need your own pattern notcher, you can definitely find it there. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe so that you can see other fun sewing tools, as well as how to digitally apparel pattern your own unique pieces of wearable art. I look forward to seeing you in some of my other videos. Happy patterning!